All right, so you guys see that poster right there? That is a poster for the stage show of A Bronx Tale, starring Chaz Palminteri. Now, many of you guys have probably seen the film version of A Bronx Tale, also starring Chaz.
Now you just can't leave.
But what you might not know is that that film actually originated as a stage show. And eventually Robert De Niro got his hands on the script and turned it into his director debut. And, you know, it became a pretty big film in the 90s, and it became a cult classic eventually. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, I grew up in the same neighborhood that film is based on. That is the Little Italy area of the Bronx, also known as Belmont or Arthur Avenue. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the other day I was on Reddit and I saw a cocktail called Bronx Tale. And I said to myself, oh man, I have got to try this out, right? I mean, it's named after my own neighborhood, right? And one of my favorite films of all time. And apparently it's one of the guy's favorite films as well, the guy who created the cocktail. So anyway, so I said, you know, I'm going to go ahead and make this cocktail for you guys on YouTube, and hopefully it's as good as the neighborhood was, you know. Growing up in that neighborhood actually during the 80s was very interesting, right? Because the neighborhood was very unique in the Bronx at that time. Because, you know, look, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but, you know, the Bronx in the 80s was one of the toughest places in the world. I mean, it was a disaster. I mean, especially the South Bronx, you know. The South Bronx, where my grandparents lived, and I spent a lot of time there as well, was a really, really tough place. I mean, the place was, they used to call it the Bronx was burning, because half the neighborhood was burning down, the other half was on drugs. There was so much crime. It was a really, really shitty place, you know. But then, you know, when my mother lived on Arthur Avenue, the Belmont neighborhood, was just like, it was like a storybook place. I mean, kids were playing out on the streets. You know, the old folks were playing bocce, the old guys, you know, the old ladies were shopping. Everybody had their doors open. Everybody knew each other. I mean, and look, good or bad, for whatever it's worth, you know, the mob was very, you know, much making sure the neighborhood was okay. A lot, you know, the wise guys made sure that everything was all right in the neighborhood, and so it was a very different neighborhood, a very different upbringing. So, you know, I had a very contrasted youth growing up, but it made me who I am. I took a little bit of this, I took a little bit of that, and here we have Vino, right? You know, look, the thing about the neighborhood was, you know, it's where I had my first limoncello. It's where I had my first Amaro. It's where I got the name Vino. You know, it's where all my best friends. It's where, you know, my wife's Italian, my best friends are Italian. You know, look, it had a very strong influence on who I am today. You know. So anyway, so I'm really excited to make this cocktail, and hopefully it's delicious. It looks good, and we can experience it together, right, folks? So before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you guys to hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and that notification bell so you can help Vino feed the hungry algorithm. And make sure you stick around, because we're about to boogie down. All right, so before we get started, let us look at what is in the sauce, all right? We're gonna be using some Angostura bitters, and then we're gonna be using some coffee liqueur, okay? Now, I'm gonna be using Kahlua because Kahlua is a rum-based coffee liqueur, and we're gonna be using some rum in this cocktail, so it just makes sense to me, but you can use whatever coffee liqueur you have in stock, all right? And now we're gonna be using a couple of Italian ingredients here, which makes sense, right? We're gonna be using some Campari, which is gonna obviously give you some of those bitter Campari notes, which would be nice in the cocktail, and then we're going to be using some Amaretto, which is going to give you some sweeter almond flavors, all right? And then we're going to be using a couple of rums, like I said. We're going to be using an aged Demerara. I'm using El Dorado, and we're going to be using an aged Jamaican, and I'm going to be using Appleton 8, right, folks? So let's go ahead and make our Bronx Tale cocktail. All right, folks, there we have it, our Bronx Tale cocktail. Let's go ahead and give this bad boy a sippy sip. Cheers. Oh, I like that. Oh, whoa. Forget about it. That's good, man. like right off the bat, I got the Amaretto was the first thing I got, and then it started to morph a little bit into the Campari, and then that coffee liqueur really got there, and then you get a little bit of that funk from the Jamaican rum. This is a really, really nice little cocktail. Oh yeah, that's great. Listen, I love a cocktail that can evolve on your palate. I mean, it's not like it's not a one-trick pony. This is definitely not a one-trick pony. It's got a little bit of sweetness going on for sure, but it's also got that bitterness from the Campari and also the coffee liqueur, of course. And then you get, you get that rum, you get that funk from the rum. This is a very, very, look, I'll be honest with you, the Demerara Rum probably gets a little bit lost in here. I mean, I don't know if I'd bump it up though anymore because I do like what the Jamaican rum is bringing in here. So maybe you could try another rum, or just if you don't have Demerara Rum, try something else. Maybe a Barbadian rum or something like that. I don't know if I'd put 2 ounces of Jamaican rum because then it'd probably be a little too much Jamaican rum forward, okay? But anyway, this is really, really nice. I'm totally enjoying this. All right. So shout out to Redditor SISMXN. Not sure how to say it, but I know how to spell it. Anyway, folks, so a great homage to My Old Neighborhood. It's one of my favorite films and one of his favorite films. And it's always fun to put all that stuff together, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, folks, look, if you like this video, please press like, please subscribe, and please share with your family and friends. Remember, sharing is caring, and when life gives you lemons, you make yourself a cocktail. Cheers.